The night that changed everything. The mansion had everything money could buy. Italian marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Walls lined with priceless art. Yet, every night, it felt colder than the street outside. Ethan Cross stepped inside just past midnight, loosening his tie with irritation. Another 12-hour day. Another board meeting. Another billion-dollar decision made without a second thought. To the world, Ethan Cross was untouchable. A self-made millionaire who rose from nothing and crushed everything in his path. But tonight, something felt wrong. The silence wasn't normal. He stopped walking. There it was again. A soft sound. Breathing. Ethan frowned and followed the sound down the hallway. His polished shoes echoed against the marble floor until he reached the servants' corridor, a place he rarely entered. He flipped on the dim hallway light. And froze. Right there, on the cold marble floor, was Rosa. His maid. Curled tightly around two small children. Twins. Barefoot. Thin blanket. Cheeks flushed from the cold. Rosa's arm was wrapped protectively around them as if her own body was the only wall standing between them and the world. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. His first instinct was anger. What is she doing here at this hour? Why are children in my house? But then he noticed details that shattered his irritation. Her shoes, cracked and worn through. Her hands. Rough, trembling even in sleep. The twins, shivering. They weren't trespassing. They were surviving. Ethan knelt slowly, the marble biting into his knee. "Rosa," he said quietly. She woke instantly, eyes snapping open in panic. "Oh God, sir," she gasped, scrambling to sit up. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, please don't fire me." The twins woke too, pressing against her in fear. "Mama," one whispered. Rosa pulled them close. Ethan had fired employees for less. Late arrivals. Small mistakes. Excuses. But tonight, his throat tightened. "Why," he asked carefully, "are you sleeping on the floor?" Rosa's lips trembled. For a moment, she said nothing. Then the dam broke. "My sister died last month," she whispered. "Car accident. She left them behind. I tried shelters, sir, but they were full. I couldn't leave them outside." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I clean your house all day. At night. I had nowhere to take them." The words landed like a punch to Ethan's chest. He owned 5 homes. This woman had none. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. Rosa shook her head. "People like me don't ask people like you for help." That sentence echoed in his mind long after it was spoken. He stood slowly. "Wake the children," he said. Rosa panicked again. "Please, if you want to fire me, I understand, just don't call the police." "That wasn't a threat," Ethan interrupted quietly. "You're not sleeping on the floor again. Not tonight. Not ever." She stared at him in disbelief. "Come with me." A bed for the first time. Ethan led them to the guest wing. Rooms larger than most apartments. Rosa hesitated at the doorway. "We shouldn't." "They need sleep," Ethan said firmly. He pulled back the blankets himself. The twins stared at the bed like it wasn't real. "Is it okay?" the little girl whispered. Ethan nodded. They climbed in slowly, eyes wide. Rosa stood frozen, hands shaking. Ethan noticed. "You too," he said, pointing to the armchair beside the bed. "No, sir. That's not a suggestion." She sat. And cried. Silent tears. The kind that come from holding pain too long. Ethan left the room quietly. But sleep never came. The memory he buried. He sat alone in his office, staring at a photo he hadn't looked at in years. His mother. A cleaning uniform. Tired eyes. A smile that hid everything. She used to clean offices at night and sleep wherever she could. He remembered being 5 years old. Cold. Hungry. Ashamed. And someone once helped them. He had forgotten. Morning changed everything. Rosa expected dismissal. She stood in the kitchen with her head down, hands clasped. Ethan placed a folder on the table. Sit. She obeyed. Inside the folder. A new contract. Her salary tripled. Medical insurance. Schooling for the twins. And then. A deed. Her breath caught. I bought a small house, Ethan said quietly. Near a school. Rosa's knees buckled. She grabbed the chair to stay standing. Why? She whispered. Ethan swallowed. Because kindness saved my life once, and I forgot. When power bowed to kindness. The twins woke up laughing. That alone changed everything. Ethan Cross stood silently outside the guest room door, listening. The sound felt unfamiliar inside his mansion, small feet running, soft giggles echoing off marble walls that had only ever known footsteps of servants and business partners. For the first time in years, the house felt alive. Rosa stepped out a moment later, her eyes red but her posture different. Straighter. Stronger. They slept, she said softly. All night. Ethan nodded. He didn't trust himself to speak. The world doesn't like kindness from the powerful. News travels fast in wealthy circles. Within days, whispers spread. The maid is living in the guest wing. Children in the mansion. He's gone soft. At the board meeting, the tone changed. Ethan, one director said coldly, your personal charity decisions are becoming a liability. They're children, Ethan replied. They're not your responsibility. Ethan leaned forward. Neither was my mother's survival, he said quietly. But someone made it theirs. Silence followed. The board didn't like silence. Rosa's past comes knocking. One afternoon, a woman appeared at the gate. Well-dressed. Sharp eyes. Child services. A complaint had been filed. Anonymous, they said. Rosa trembled. I'll lose them, she whispered. I knew this was too good to be true. Ethan stepped forward. No, he said firmly. You won't. The case escalated. Court dates followed. Headlines appeared. Millionaire accused of exploiting Maid's children. Sponsors threatened to pull out. Friends vanished. But Ethan didn't move. The courtroom that went silent. The judge looked down. Why, he asked Rosa, did you sleep on the floor instead of asking for help? Rosa's voice shook. Because when you grow up invisible, you learn not to knock on doors meant for others. The courtroom fell silent. Ethan stood. I was once one of those children, he said. Cold. Hungry. Forgotten. He looked at the twins. They deserve better. The ruling came swiftly. Custody secured. Guardianship approved. Case dismissed. Rosa collapsed into tears. So did Ethan. A different kind of wealth. Months passed. The small house filled with laughter. School backpacks replaced fear. The twins learned to ride bicycles. Rosa learned to dream again. Ethan visited often, not as a savior, but as family. One evening, the little boy asked him, "Are you rich?" Ethan smiled softly. "I used to think so. And now?" He looked around. "Now I'm learning." The ending no one expected. Years later, at a charity event, Ethan announced something unexpected. He stepped away from half his empire. Founded a foundation for domestic workers' families. Named it after his mother. Rosa stood beside him, no longer a maid. A director. The twins stood tall. Safe. Loved. And the mansion? Ethan sold it. Bought a smaller home. Filled it with warmth instead of marble. Money builds walls. Kindness builds doors. And sometimes, the richest moment in a person's life is when they finally kneel to their humanity.